Sunday, June 12th, 2022. I skipped a couple of days and the world didn't come to an end. That's good to know. Last night when I went to sleep, I made a note that today I will talk about flexibility, being flexible in doing what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. One of the fundamental principles that I have lived by for many, many years is that the universe is designed in such a way that everything that you'll need, that anything that you'll ever need, is already there and will be available to you when the time comes. I decided to talk about flexibility. And the first email that I came across was from my nephew about his blog that he puts out every Friday, which I had missed reading this past Friday. And he shares, among other things, some of the books he's reading and podcasts he's listening to or has listened to. So, in other words, he shares the resources with his audience that he found valuable. And one of the podcasts that he shared uh, kind of surprised me because I didn't think he was a fan of Srini Rao or that he listened to the Unmistakable Creative podcast. But really shouldn't be a surprise to me knowing who he is and how he does things. But the Unmistakable Creative podcast is something that I've been uh, listening to on and off for many years. And I do get notifications of weekly podcast that Srini promotes and puts out. And last week I didn't pay much attention to it, and then it was drawn my attention to again when something grabs your attention more than once, then it really means that you need to pay attention to it. You need to heed to that calling, that invitation. So I listened to the podcast earlier today, and it is about achieving an impossible goal in 90 days. That's what the podcast is. Srini interviews amazing people. He just finds this outstanding folks all over the place and reads their books and then interviews them when he finds something interesting. And his guest, Michael, and I forget the last name, talks about achieving impossible goals in 90 days. And the key to doing that is basically staying flexible and detaching yourself from the outcome. And he said that's what the impossible goal it really is. It's when you say, "Oh heck, that ain't gonna happen." So that just kind of frees you up from the outcome because you're not expecting anything. And then that detachment allows you, first of all, introduces you to all the possibilities that can get you to that result that you're looking for. But because you're not attached to the outcome, anything that comes your way as a possible solution, you say, "Ah, what the heck, I'll give it a try." And that flexibility, that freedom, that nonchalant way of um, looking at things allows you to experiment more and more, producing results that you didn't really expect. So when we set a goal and we want to accomplish a goal, we usually do what we are taught to do, what we are told to do, which is the smart goal planning. Be specific, make it measurable, achievable, reasonable, and time bound. The smart goals, um, and then we set out a plan on how we're going to do it, and that's what ties us into it, locks us into a path. And whether we're making progress or whether we're getting the desired results or not, we're told stick to it, don't give up, keep keep at it, keep going. And a lot of time we lock into it, and even though we're not seeing the results, we keep going at it, keep going at it, and eventually, yeah, we will achieve the goal, or we'll come to a conclusion that we didn't get to where we wanted to. One of the examples that Michael used was when back in the 90s, early 90s, when Bill Clinton was running for the nomination for the Democratic Party. And it seemed like he wasn't going to get it. That they had come to the conclusion, it's a foregone conclusion that it ain't going to happen, that he's not going to get the uh, nomination. And he said what changed was that the creative team uh, became open to all possibilities. It used to be where if you come up with an idea, you had to convince the creative committee that it was a good idea before they would implement it. And it changed to where, okay, um, if you can't, if we can't pursue you to give up on your idea, if you can't prove that your idea is bad, then it's a go. And I'm not saying, may not be saying this correctly. You got to listen to that podcast, Unmistakable Creative Podcast. And well, what changed was they got more creative and there was more action from all different angles. And the result was that he did get nominated and then become the president of the United States. So his suggestion was simply this, that if you want to accomplish a goal that is impossible, making having that attitude that it's an impossible goal detaches you from the outcome, because you're saying basically that ain't gonna happen. So what do I gotta lose? And you're more likely to experiment and try and uh, be more flexible in what you are willing to do. And the result is you you find yourself surprised at the end of the 90 days that you have achieved something. And now I have set about a couple of goals that I know seems impossible. One of them I'll share with you, even though I am hesitant in sharing because that's what kind of ties you into and gets you attached to the outcome when you make it public, when you declare it in public, which is what normal conventional thinking says that if you want to accomplish a goal, make it public, and that will hold you accountable, and you'll do whatever it needs to do. You need to do. There's merit to it because I'm working on finally working on finishing my book after having made it public that I would publish it on the sixth anniversary of the beginning of my walk. So yeah, it is holding me accountable, but at this point, I am more flexible than I was 2 months ago. Um, and I know it will happen. How, I don't know. I'm doing my part and I'll continue doing my part. And that's all there is to it. But the impossible goal, 90-day impossible goal that I have set is to lose 30 pounds in the next 90 days and then to maintain it. That's my impossible goal. We'll see how it goes. Um, who knows? But that's what I have set a goal to achieve. I have tried that many a time in different occasions. Set the goals for different timelines, and in a year's time, in a 6 months times, and whatnot. And hasn't happened yet. The only time it did happen was 6 years ago when I walked from Chicago to LA and I lost 30 pounds over the 6 month period. But then I wasn't able to maintain it because I couldn't keep walking every day like I did for those 6 months, which is what helped me lose a lot of that weight. So this time it's only a 3 month period as opposed to 6 months. And I want to maintain it. That's the key. So we'll see how it goes. So that's my message for today is stay flexible, have fun, experiment with things. Um, don't get locked into or attached to the outcome. Whatever happens, happens. And chances are, if you go in with that attitude, that this is what I want, how I get there is not important, and I'll get there sooner or later. And you may surprise yourself. So have a blessed evening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.